Hard capping rent for tenants. That's what the California Assembly approved this week to help residents with the rising cost of rent.
KSBY's Dustin Kleeman joins us live in San Luis Obispo with what that bill would do and its potential impact locally. Dustin?
Well, good evening, Richard and Karina. There are hundreds of apartments available for rent here in San Luis Obispo, including at the De Toloso Apartments, where you can find a studio apartment for about $1,700. This bill aims to make sure that the rising rent doesn't go too high too fast, but it came with a number of compromises at the last minute.
In the midst of the worst housing crisis in our state's history, millions of our California tenants are one rent increase away from being able to afford food, health care, or becoming homeless.
With 15 million tenants in the state, AB 1482 passed the Assembly by a narrow vote and now heads to the Senate. Assemblyman David Chu authored the bill.
It's not rent control, but it's an anti-rent gouging policy designed to protect many of our state's 15 million tenants who do not have rent control.
The bill would prohibit landlords from raising rent by more than 7% plus inflation over the course of a year. Opponents say it would discourage investment in rental housing. Before a compromise with the California Association of Realtors, the original bill had a 5% cap. It will also now expire in 2023 instead of the originally proposed 2030. Ken Triguero of People's Self-Help Housing in San Luis Obispo.
We're still seeing that over half of that 9.5 million are burdened, meaning they're paying much more than 30% of their income.
Says the bill is a step in the right direction in battling California and the Central Coast's housing crisis.
We think the 7% cap is probably not going to have a dramatic effect either way, and the 3-year cycle as well. But it's a help to those who have incomes that aren't rising at that rate, and yet their rents are rising even sometimes more.
A couple of bills that I want to tell you about that were also killed in this session that didn't make it. One of them would have actually overridden local zoning rules to allow for the construction of more housing around public transit areas. That was one that people were hoping for. And then another one in tandem with the one I just told you about was Assembly Bill 1481, and that would prohibit landlords in many circumstances from evicting tenants without a valid reason. Live and local in San Luis Obispo, I'm Dustin Kleeman, KSBY News.
Dustin, thank you. And Californians voted down a ballot measure last year that would have allowed cities to expand rent control.